It's me, it's JUB, here with a new episode of Resident Evil Explained. Today we're going to be going over the original, the first ever Resident Evil, simply titled Resident Evil. Resident Evil came out on the 22nd of March 1996, and takes place in July 1998, only a few days after Resident Evil 0. However, we are going to play the 2002 remake, which upgraded the graphics and added a few more features. Now just before this video starts, I do have to address the elephant in the room, and the elephant in the room is that this game doesn't have a canon ending. None of the endings really make sense towards the rest of the franchise, because certain characters die and show up later in the series. And there's no ending where every single one of the characters get out, and every single one of the characters make a return. So it's hard to say, but I'm just gonna really talk about it as it comes. That's enough of my bullshit. Enjoy the rest of the video. So the game starts with STAR's Alpha team trying to look for STAR's Bravo team, who are the people we saw in Resident Evil 0, which Rebecca Chambers was part of. Also, we see news reports of what looks like zombies attacking people in the nearby Arclay Forest area. Eventually they find Bravo team's crash helicopter with Kevin's dead body. However, they get attacked by zombie dogs and have to retreat to a nearby mansion.
Come on! Hey! Brad! Where the hell's he going? Chris, this way. Make for that mansion!
There are only 3 STARS members left now. Captain Wesker, Barry, and myself. We don't know where Chris is.
So I think now will be a good time to introduce all of the characters. We have Jill Valentine, Chris Redfield, Albert Wesker, and Barry Burton. Now here's the confusing part. So when you first play this game, you have a choice to either play as Jill or Chris. And if you play as Chris in this part, you come into the mansion with yourself, Chris, Jill Valentine, and Wesker. But Wesker mentions that Barry's dead. And this is what I meant about not all the endings being canon, because if you choose Chris, Barry Burton dies right at the beginning, which would make no sense because in Resident Evil Revelations 2, Barry Burton returns. So in this playthrough, I'm mainly going to be focusing on Jill Valentine's playthrough of the game. However, I will be sprinkling in some of the parts of Chris.
What is this place?
Not quite your ordinary house, that's for sure.
Hey, Wesker, where's Chris?
Jill, no! You don't want to go back out there.
But we've got to find...
What was that?
Chris?
No.
Jill, go and investigate.
I'm going with her. Chris and I go back a long way.
Alright. You two go. I'll secure this area.
Stay sharp.
Now I'm just going to say quickly, just in case you came from a Resident Evil 0 video, and you're wondering, why the fuck is Albert Wesker, the bad guy from Resident Evil 0, part of the STARS team? Well, if you remember something that he said...
As you wish. I will follow my initial plan and lure the STARS members into the mansion. Their superior combat training should make them perfect test subjects.
We know that he's using STARS for his own advantage, but we'll see more of that later in the game. Usually I wouldn't really spoil things like this, but they showed it in the Resident Evil 0 prequel, and it's super fucking obvious.
A dining room.
Jill and Barry have to do a bit of investigating around the mansion until Jill finds this. one of the most iconic cutscenes in all of video game history. The first zombie in the mansion. Now you can fight this zombie, but if you're a pussy like me, you'll run away and let Barry do it.
What is it?
Look out! It's a monster!
Let me take care of it. What the hell is this thing?
I found Kenneth killed by this thing. Let's report this to Wesker.
However, Wesker will be nowhere to be seen.
Barry.
Any luck, Jill?
No, nothing. What's going on around here? I can't figure it out.
Same here.
Chris, and now Wesker.
There's not much we can do. We can search for him separately. I'll investigate the dining room again.
Okay then, I'll try the door on the other side.
This mansion is gigantic. We could easily get lost. Let's start from the first floor.
Okay.
Oh! I almost forgot. It's a lockpick. You'd make better use of it.
Thanks. I may need it.
Listen. If something happens, let's meet up in this hall. Got it?
Okay.
Now that Jill and Barry had split up, Jill Valentine is left to run around the mansion herself. Eventually she will find a graveyard, and this graveyard has a tomb in it. After finding a way into this tomb, they will be greeted with this massive dungeon looking room with a massive grave chained on top of the roof. She will also find a book with a key in it. This book is called the Book of Curses. Inside the book it says, "A mask that speaks no evil, a mask that smells no evil, a mask that sees no evil, and a mask that cannot speak, smell, or see evil." This book will come in later for one of the puzzles. Anyway, a bit later, Jill Valentine picks up a shotgun that's innocently placed on the wall. However, after she picks this up, the room that she's in starts to close in to crush her. However, just at the last minute, Barry Burton comes into the rescue, saving her. But Jill Valentine, even though she's thankful for Barry Burton saving her, she wonders why Barry was there, even though he said that he was going to be downstairs. It's a bit suspicious. Also, I'm really pissed, because in the original version it had the iconic line where Barry says, "You could have been a Jill sandwich." Then they removed it in the remake for no reason. So stupid. Anyway, moving on. Now, other than Jill Valentine puking over a dead zombie, which is kind of funny, nothing really interesting happens until Jill Valentine eventually meets up with Barry Burton again, where again she is suspicious about what Barry Burton is doing.
Barry.
Jill, got any good news?
Other than I'm still alive in this madhouse? No.
Can't say it's much safer here either. We'd better secure our escape route first. There's gotta be a back door somewhere.
Alright then, let's split up again.
See you later.
Ciao.
Just in case you're wondering why I'm jumping around the story quite a lot, it's because I'm cutting out a lot of things which I don't really need to talk about, like random puzzles and random enemies that I defeat and random items I pick up, because it really isn't really interesting me to talk about, so that's why there's big skips. You can see him in this shot in the Resident Evil 0. However, Forrest doesn't stay dead for too long, because he comes back as a zombie, but luckily we managed to defeat him pretty easily. Now, eventually you will find another wounded STARS member, Richard. But here's the interesting and confusing part. For this part, I believe that Chris's part of the story is canon. Because in Jill Valentine's part, she just has to go get him the serum. With Chris, you also have to get him the serum, but instead of just meeting him by himself, you meet him with a very familiar face. Rebecca Chambers.
You.
Chris Redfield, Alpha Team. We're here to rescue you. Richard, what the hell happened to you? Chris, this place... Get your team out of here. demons everywhere.
Don't talk. He seems to have been bitten by a poisonous snake, but the size of the bite mark is huge.
It's not just any ordinary snake. Take my word for it.
He needs serum. I left it in another room.
I'll go get it.
Please hurry.
Hold on. I'll be back.
Now the reason I believe Chris's version of events to be the canon version of events is because it works well with the Resident Evil 0 ending. In the Resident Evil 0 ending, Rebecca Chambers says that Enrique Rodriguez told her to go to the mansion, and in Jill Valentine's story we never see Rebecca Chambers once, suggesting that she didn't go to the mansion or died. And we know this is definitely true as well because Rebecca Chambers, although not showing up in any more of the games, does show up in one of the Resident Evil animated movies, which are canon. Don't be mistaken with the Resident Evil live action movies, those are not canon. Anyway, this is confusing because if this is canon, that means that Barry Burton died, but Barry Burton shows up in Resident Evil Revelations 2 like I said. So I believe the Aversion's events that happened is a mix of Jill Valentine's and a mix of Chris's story. You will get Richard the serum that he needs, where Rebecca will take care of him until we can finally find a way out of this mansion.
As soon as Richard gets better, we'll come after you.
Rebecca, you okay with a gun?
Yes.
All right. I'm going to continue my investigation.
Be careful.
Now I'm going to mention a few things about Rebecca quickly.
Okay.
You may notice how in this game Rebecca Chambers is nothing like she was in Resident Evil 0. Like, first of all, different voice actor. In this game she was voiced by someone called Erin Khaled. I can't pronounce words. And in Resident Evil 0 she was voiced by Riva Del Polo. I already said I can't pronounce words, I don't know why I tried it twice. Anyway, that's why her voice is so different, and the voice actor's a little bit shit in this game anyway. So she really doesn't sound like herself in Resident Evil 0. And in Resident Evil 0 she was a much better character, because even though we don't see too much of her in this game, from what we do see of her, she's nothing like when she was in Resident Evil 0. And that's because obviously Resident Evil 0 was a prequel made after, and they decided to give her a bit more character, but it kind of screwed it over because in this game it's like, why did she become less cool all of a sudden? I just wanted to mention that quickly. Moving on. We cut back to Jill Valentine, who finds the snake that Richard was talking about. However, he failed to mention that the snake was a giant bioweapon which was infected with a T-virus designed to kill.
Payback time!
And after we do defeat Yon, yes, his name is actually Yon, that's the name that Capcom gave the snake, Yon will come back after we defeat him, killing Richard. Now you might be wondering, does Richard also die in Chris's version of events? Yes, but we'll come to that later, because it's a later part of the game. Anyway, after this, Jill manages to run away, where she will run to the same tomb she was at earlier. When we get to this tomb, we would have already collected all 4 of the masks. As we put all 4 of the masks in, the coffin attached to the roof falls. And inside the coffin is the Elder Crimson Head. After we manage to defeat him, he'll drop down a little emblem which we can use to open a door to get to the outside area of the mansion.
Somebody respond! Over!
Barry?
Monster! James! Gun! Ineffective! It's it! Stay away! Forest outside mansion! Stay! Hey!
Well, Barry telling us to stay away from the forest outside the mansion, but what are we gonna do? We're gonna run straight on into the forest outside the mansion. Eventually, Jill will find herself in a derelict old shack, and in this shack is a disgusting creature. This creature is actually unkillable, and has a really dark backstory, but I'll get into the backstory a bit later. But for now, Jill has to get the fuck out of there. After you do run away from the creature, you will get to a new area of the mansion, or a different part of the mansion. It's like a different building, but it's still attached to the mansion, sort of like the guest house in Resident Evil 7. However, she'll hear Barry talking to someone.
Part of our deal. But it's not necessary to destroy stars. What about my family? If I play my cards right.
Jill goes to investigate to see who Barry's talking to, since he has been acting really strange.
Jill.
Barry, I heard someone talking.
Oh, you heard. I think age is starting to take its toll. Talking to myself is becoming a bad habit.
Talking to yourself? You alright? What's gotten into you?
I'm getting you worried, aren't I? But don't, I'm alright. I guess this creepy mansion has gotten to my nerves. Anyway, I think I'll go outside, get some fresh air for a change. Don't worry, I'm just going to get some fresh air. If I'm lucky, I'll get to waste some monsters along the way.
Now, Barry was definitely talking to somebody. We definitely heard someone else's voice, although it being very faint. But Barry is covering up, saying that he's now beginning to talk to himself. Something seems really strange, considering he also mentioned his family, and also playing his cards right, which is all very cryptic information. And this next thing I want to talk about, although it not being something really big in the story, something really small in fact, I did want to mention it because it shows you how dark Umbrella really is. So you'll go into this room where you'll find a zombie that seems to have a noose around its neck hanging from the ceiling, and a gun which is titled the self-defense gun with a singular bullet in it. And this gun also comes with a note. Suicide note. June 22nd, 1998. I had to do it. We ran from those things, helping each other to survive, but Robert started to show symptoms. I had to do it. Those damn things are pure evil. There was no way he would have done the same if it were the other way round. After I put him out of his misery, I had to just leave him in the bathroom. Now I'm probably the last one. How could this happen? I'll never forgive myself for being part of this project. Eventually I'll get what's coming to me, though there's no way to escape from this nuthouse. It's just a matter of time now. Everything is set. All I need is a little courage to get it done, knowing that I'll leave many things undone is regret beyond words. But this is better than just waiting to turn into one of them. Please understand, at least let me end my life as a person. There's a message on the back. Linda, please forgive me. Jill will push two bookshelves to the side where she'll find a ladder which takes her to a secret location. After walking around this little facility for a while, you'll find a room filled with water. But that's not the only thing it's filled with. Fucking sharks. This is actually how Richard dies in Chris's version of events.
Richard! Chris! Chris, stop! No! Richard.
after managing to escape the sharks, you'll be left in this room where you are trapped in, and the sharks will be constantly smashing their head against the glass to try and get you to be stuck in the water with them. Eventually, after messing around with the controls, you'll be able to close yourself into the room and drain the water, killing the sharks. Anyway, eventually you'll find your way back to the building we were at originally, but you're not alone. Plant 42. But luckily to the rescue
What the hell is this thing?
is Barry Burton with a flamethrower.
Jill!
I thought it was finished.
Yeah.
That was close. Thanks again.
Don't mention it. But what was that? What the hell's going on in this place?
Once again, suspicious. Barry Burton came in at
Barry.
the perfect time.
Something about that mansion still bothers me. But I think I'll stay here a little longer.
And
We
even
should
when
split up again and investigate.
All right.
Jill tries to talk to Barry, he seems to just try and cut her off and end the conversation as quick as possible, almost like he's hiding something. Speaking of suspicious.
Wesker.
Jill, so you're safe.
That's what I was going to say.
I apologize. It was all I could do to protect myself against those strange creatures.
I understand. Anyway, it's good that you're safe.
Did you notice? Barry, he sounded a little flaky.
Now that you mention it, yeah. I'll keep a close eye.
Maybe it's quite natural under these circumstances. It's not really our standard operation. Jill, our first priority is to get out of here.
I agree.
There are still rooms in that mansion we can't get into because they're locked up. I've been looking for ways to...
Okay, if there's anything, I'll go back to the other mansion.
I'm counting on you.
So following her captain's orders, she goes back to the mansion so she can do some more investigating. However, Jill makes a new friend. Back from Resident Evil 0, the Hunters. Here, and even stronger than last time. However, the reason I bring these up is because if you had chosen Chris, at this point you would get an optional objective to save Rebecca Chambers. Obviously we're going to save Rebecca Chambers because I didn't play all of Resident Evil 0 to let her die.
Rebecca,
Chris!
you okay?
I didn't mean to get you worried.
We can't stay here any longer. We have to get to the others and find a way out of here. You with me?
Yes.
Then I'll go ahead. Until then, Rebecca, you're on your own. Stay cool and use your better judgment. Got it?
I can handle myself.
Good luck.
Anyway, moving back to Jill, eventually she'll get through this weird puzzle area with this statue. After going through this puzzle, she'll find the secret area that goes to the underground part of the mansion once again. However, she'll also find a diary. Now, I'm not going to go over this diary till we find the other entry of it, because I already have the entry from before, but there's one last entry, and instead of me showing you all bit by bit, I'm going to wait till the bit where it shows the third one, and then I'll just read out all the diary entries, because it gives you quite a lot of interesting information that the game doesn't tell you any other way. Anyway, after a little bit, Jill will head into this sort of office looking room with two things you need to collect and this mysterious animatronic bird that seems to surveil you around the room and does not stop watching you at any point. However, that's not what we're concentrating on right now. Right now we're concentrating on is this little letter, because this little letter gives us quite a lot of interesting information. Mail to Chief of Security. Confidential, Chief of Security, July 22nd, 1998. X day is drawing upon us. Execute the following procedures within 1 week. Prompt actions are demanded. Lure stars to the state and obtain the BOW's raw combat data against stars. Collect 2 embryos of each mutant specimen as samples. Excluding the tyrant, dispose of the tyrant. Ensure complete disposal of the Arclay laboratory, including all personal and animal tests. Discuss their deaths all as an accident. When the above procedures are executed, report to the headquarters for further instructions. If for some reason you are unable to execute the procedure by the deadlines, report immediately. In case of emergency situation, report directly to the extension number 5691. Good luck, Umbrella Headquarters. So let's go over this letter. First of all, who sent the letter? Obviously someone at Umbrella, because that's what it says at the end of it. But the question is, who's this letter being sent to? The letter says Chief of Security, but that's not a proper name. But we can actually figure out who this letter was sent by, because the letter says for one of their first tasks is to lure the STARS members over to the mansion. And if we remember from that conversation from Resident Evil 0 with Wesker and Birkin, what did Wesker say to Birkin?
Do as you wish. I will follow my initial plan and lure the STARS members into the mansion. Their superior combat training should make them perfect test subjects.
This confirms to us that the letter must have been sent to Albert Wesker, since he's the one that's here trying to get the combat data from the STARS agents. But here's the interesting part. The letter also mentions a tyrant and to dispose of it. Now we remember the tyrant from Resident Evil 0, and I mentioned how that was only the beta tyrant, so now it's talking about a much stronger tyrant. However, we'll have to wait to see this later. Because right now, it was time to meet an old friend. Yon the Snake. After a pretty intense fight with Yon, eventually you'll manage to defeat the Snake, where he will smack his head against the bookshelf, revealing this book, which will be used in a puzzle later. After a bit more exploring around the mansion, Jill decides to go outside the mansion again, where she finds another secret ladder leading down to the bottom of the mansion. However, when she gets to the bottom of the mansion, there's caves everywhere, and she finds another familiar face.
Is that you, Jill?
Is that voice Enrico's?
Yeah?
You're alive!
Stop! Are you with anybody, Jill?
No, but why?
The stars are finished. Someone is a traitor. Umbrella set us up.
Enrico! Traitor? Who?
Yes, just in case you're wondering, that is the same Enrico from Resident Evil 0, the leader of Bravo Team, but he was just assassinated. Just as he was saying there was a traitor in STARS, he gets assassinated straight away, just like he's trying to be silenced. I think we have some clues who this possibly could be, but let's explore the rest and see what happens. Anyway, after Jill does some more shenanigans around the tunnels, like being chased by a massive boulder and being attacked by a massive spider, eventually she will meet with yet another familiar face.
Jill!
Barry? Thank God you're safe.
You too, Jill. A noise I heard brought me down here, but I didn't expect to find a place like this. Have any idea as to what might be at the bottom?
There's only one way to find out.
What the hell is that sound?
be a person.
Jill, go check it out. We had enough surprises for one day. I'll stay here and secure our escape route in case something happens.
Okay.
Wow, bloody hell, Barry. It's gonna make us go in by ourselves? But after we do this, Jill will see that horrible creature again that's immune to bullets and everything, and she will run away to Barry. But Barry, well... Barry! You son of a bitch, Barry! Well, now Jill Valentine is trapped down here in these tunnels with that terrifying creature, which seems to have no weaknesses. After this, Jill will temporarily get away from the creature by finding this special room on the side. However, this room will tell us the tragic backstory of this creature. Jill will find herself in an uncharacteristically, compared to the rest of the mansion, creepy room, because instead of gun-run science experiments and documents of evil wrongdoings, she finds herself in a room filled with dolls and candles. She'll find this old jewellery box with a family photo and a diary. Now before I read this diary, I'm going to go over the two diaries I spoke about before for a little more context to the whole situation. So the first diary was found in this room with the trapdoor room with the emblem. The diary is here. Trevor's diary. November 24th, 1967. 11 days have passed since arriving on the estate. How did I end up like this? A guy in a lab coat brought me here. A mega plate of food, he said. Sorry to put you through this, but it's for security reasons. That's when it hit me. It all makes sense now. There are only two people that know the secret of the mansion. Sir Spencer and myself. If they kill me, Sir Spencer will be the only one who knows the secret. But for what purpose? Doesn't matter now. It's too dangerous here. My family, I hope they're alright. I've decided to escape. Jessica and Lisa, I pray that you are safe. November 26th, 1967. How could I be so careless? I lost my favourite lighter, the one that Jessica gave me on my birthday. Now it's going to be that much harder to escape this dark place. November 13th, the date when my fate sealed. My aunt was hospitalized just 3 days before Jessica and Lisa said they were going to visit her. I wish I could be there with them. But wait, even as I'm writing this, my memory is coming back to me, more vibrantly. Just before I passed out, I remember the man in the lab coat said something like, most likely your family is already. I pray for their safety. November 27th, 1967. Somehow I managed to get out of that room, but getting out of this mansion won't be easy. I have to pass all the booby traps, tiger eye, gold emblem. I have to try and remember that for my own sake. Okay everyone, that right there was the first diary. Now I'm going to read the second diary, which is found in the room after the statue puzzle in this little underground section. November 29th, 1967. I can't get out of here. I have tried every possible way to escape, but only to be faced with the reality that I am trapped. I've been everywhere, the laboratory with the large glass tube filled with formaldehyde and those dark, wet and eerie caves. What can I do? At first I didn't want to believe my eyes, but the familiar high-heeled shoe in the corridor, it was like, relax. One name came to mind, Jessica. I don't want to believe they share the same fate as me. No, I can't give up hope. I have to hope they're alive. November 13th, 1967. I haven't had anything to eat or drink for the past few days. I feel like I'm going crazy. Why is this happening to me? Why do I have to die like this? I was too obsessed with designing this ghastly mansion. I should have known better. November 30th, 1967. It was a dark, damp underground tunnel, and underneath dead end. But even in the darkness, something caught my eye. Carefully, I lit the last match I had to see what it was. A grave, but deeply engraved into the stone was my name, George Trevor. At that instant, it all became clear to me. Those bastards knew what they were doing from the beginning, that I'd die here and I'd fell right into their trap. But it's too late now. I'm losing it. Everything is becoming so far away. Jessica, Lisa, forgive me. Because of my ego, I got both of you involved in the whole damn conspiracy. Forgive me. May God justify my death in exchange for your safety. George Trevor. Now you're probably thinking, how sick can Umbrella be? This is truly despicable. Could they do anything worse? Yes. Yes, they could. Because now we're looking at the last diary, which is in this picture here. A family picture and notes. There's something written on the back. November 10th, 1967. Progenitor virus admissions. Jericho admissions type A. Plasmolyzed of tissue during cell activation. Virus fusion negative. Action disposed. Lisa administered virus type B. Plasmolyzed of tissue during cell activation. Virus fusion positive but delayed fusion. Body modification. Observe constant result. Status. Continue protective observation. George. Action terminated. November 30, 1967. There's a journal left by someone. November 14th, 1967. I feel dizzy after the shot they gave me. I don't see Mum. Where did they take her? She promised that we would escape together. Did she escape alone and leave me behind? November 15th, 1967. I found Mum. We ate together. I was very happy. But she was a fake. Not my real Mum. Same face, but different inside. Have to find Mum. Have to give her face back to Mother. I got Mum's face back. Nobody can have my Mum except me. I attached her face to me so she doesn't go away. Because Mum said when I meet her without her face. November 17th, 1917. From inside box, scent of Mummy. Maybe true Mother there. Stone box hard. It hurt. Still rope in the way. Can't see Mother because 4 stones. So I understand everything I said is very complicated. I gave quite a lot of information, so I'm going to try and shorten it down for a much easier version so you know what's going on. Basically, George Trevor was brought to the mansion by an Umbrella scientist because he helped design the mansion, so like all the traps and stuff. However, Spencer, and yes, the same Spencer from Resident Evil 0 that got his partner Marcus killed because he was greedy, hired George Trevor to come to the mansion so he could design it, but only so he could kill him, because Spencer didn't want anyone else to know the secret of the mansion. But because he was so paranoid, even though George would have no reason to tell anyone about the secret of the mansion, he got George assassinated just out of paranoia. He even made him a grave before he was even killed. And the much more darker thing, they couldn't just kill a man, they kidnapped George's family, Lisa and Jessica Trevor, and experimented the progenitor virus on them. It mentions that when they tried the progenitor virus on Jessica, George's wife, she was completely negative to it, so they decided just to dispose of her, aka murder her. However, she got let off easy because her poor 14-year-old daughter, Lisa Trevor, had a much worse fate. The virus worked on Lisa Trevor pretty well, however it turned her into a monster. As you can see in her little notes here, you can see that she's going crazy. And Umbrella thought it would be a good idea to make fake versions of her parents to come in to try and calm her down. But Lisa Trevor did not accept these fake parents. In the diary, Lisa mentions that her fake mother did look exactly like her real mother, and it's hinted at that Lisa Trevor killed the doppelganger, taking off her face and attaching it onto her own face. Now, we know one certain creature that seems to have been infected with the virus, that's roaming around with a bunch of flesh attached to its body. Yes, the creature that was immune to bullets that we saw at the cabin is Lisa Trevor. This poor little girl was kidnapped and forced to be experimented on, turning her into this horrible creature that has no idea what it's doing, but just wants to see its mother. And you're probably wondering, where is Spencer? Has this sick man paid for everything he does? We don't know that yet, but let's just say we'll find out in a later game. However, this leads to Jill's final stand with the mansion. Eventually she'll head back into the mansion. With both of the two emblems, she'll open the gate, which is where we heard Lisa Trevor's voice earlier. After going down the mysterious staircase, you'll find yourself in yet another cave. However, this time you'll find a familiar face. But I don't think Jill Valentine is too happy with this familiar face.
Jill, you're alive. I was worried, because I thought you were...
Start talking.
Calm down. I didn't want to do it. Believe me, I can explain.
Don't lie to me!
No time to talk. Jill, hand me my gun! Thanks.
Even though she's reluctant, Jill gives Barry his gun so they can finally try and find a way to defeat Lisa Trevor. However, if you look back at Lisa Trevor's diary, she mentions that she can't see her mother because of 4 stones, and there are 4 stones in this cave. After taking down all 4 of these stones, Lisa Trevor's mother's grave will come down, and this will happen.
I don't believe that thing's really dead. Leave this place up to me and go on ahead.
Okay.
Tragically, after Lisa finds her mother's dead body, she decides to jump into the bottomless pit. Barry Burton says that she's probably not dead, and he's probably right. I mean, we've seen that nothing we did could even hurt Lisa Trevor. Umbrella couldn't kill her, we couldn't kill her. Who says the Fool would kill her? She's probably still alive down there, but at least we know she'll never hurt anybody ever again. After this, Jill will find this fountain with a secret passageway in it. After going down this secret passageway, it'll take us to the final location in the game, the underground laboratory. And as we're down here, we'll do a few things, but I'm going to go over them quickly. So first of all, we'll be killing a hell of a lot of zombies. We'll have to open this door with a computer where to find the passwords. Then we'll get this special kind of fuel, which we have to put in this thing carefully, otherwise it will blow up. But the more important thing is, after we do all of those, Jill finds a familiar face. And this time, a familiar face that she's pleasant to see.
Chris, you're alive!
Of course I'm alive. Jill, there's something big going down, and I don't think we're part of the equation.
I have to get you out of here. Ugh, it won't open.
Wait, I'll be back to get you out.
Okay, no sightseeing though.
Jill said she'll go find a way to save Chris. And also I'll mention here just in case, obviously if you did choose Chris in the beginning, this would be Jill in the cage. After this, Jill gets the elevator working. However, she meets a familiar face.
Jill!
Barry,
You could have at least waited up for me, you know?
let's go.
Well, now Jill and Barry are trying to find a way out this mansion. But can Jill still trust Barry after all the times he's double-crossed her on this mission? We'll have to find out.
Wesker!
Thank you, Barry.
Well, what do you know?
Oh, don't blame Barry for everything. I hear that his better half and 2 lovely daughters will be in danger if he doesn't do everything I tell him to.
Wesker, you're pathetic.
Well, you shouldn't worry too much, dear. You'll be free of all this anyway.
Why eliminate stars?
Believe it or not, that's Umbrella's intention.
You're just a slave of Umbrella.
Smart girl, but I think you misunderstand me. The things you mentioned are nothing. I'll burn all of them along with this entire laboratory. Barry, go up on the ground and wait there.
Barry?
You gotta love Barry. He must really be afraid of Umbrella.
You and Umbrella took his family, you bastard.
Oh!
Umbrella? Well, I used some carrots and sticks to cow him, but it had nothing to do with Umbrella. I just used Barry for my personal interests. Though both you and Barry seem to think I was following Umbrella's orders.
What? What are you planning?
I guess it's time for show and tell. It's magnificent.
For the sake of this thing.
You know, I hate goodbyes.
Barry!
Forgive me.
No, you're not to blame. It's Umbrella and Wesker.
Even if it meant my family, I couldn't bear turning my back on my friends again. Shit! Damn it!
Jill and Barry together. In hell.
You want a piece of me?
What? Premature.
No, Barry! You viral cultured freak!
So now it's time to fight the first tyrant. And yes, Barry Burton was being manipulated by Wesker. He didn't want to work for Wesker, but he did. And Wesker even mentions that he's not even working for Umbrella anymore. This shit's getting crazy. But right now, Jill has to focus on defeating the tyrant. After Jill does manage to defeat the tyrant, she goes over to Wesker's body and picks up his notepad. The notepad has a message from William Birkin, yes, the cunty scientist from Resident Evil 0. He mentions that he's going to do something with the G virus, and we'll actually find out what he's talking about in Resident Evil 2 in my next video, so stay tuned for that. I'm also just going to mention Wesker's not dead. He comes back so many times, everyone knows that Wesker doesn't die right here, so I'll just mention that now. Anyway, back to the story.
Barry! Barry! You're okay.
Jill, sorry. That was careless of me. Wesker.
He's gone.
First, let's just get out of here.
However, Barry, don't you think we're forgetting something? Because now that we've lowered the locks, we can finally go back for Chris.
Jill,
Sorry about the wait.
so everything's taken care of?
Well, almost. Now let's get the hell out of here.
Eventually, Jill and Chris will meet up with Barry, where then Jill will get a radio message from Brad Vickers, the pilot who left at the beginning of the game, who's now come back to atone by saving their lives.
This is your last chance.
3 minutes to detonation.
Damn it! We're almost there! Jill, you just get in contact with Brad.
No!
We can make it. Jill, ladies first.
Chris!
Would you let me have my moments too?
Alright. We'll rendezvous at the heliport.
So once again, Jill Valentine runs off by herself, so she can attract the helicopter to come down to save them. Jill sets up the flare where Chris and Barry meet up, but it's not the helicopter that comes for them. The tyrant comes for them. The tyrant knocks Chris out, leaving you and Barry to fend for yourself. However, Brad sends down an RPG, so Jill can blow the tyrant to fucking smithereens. And that is exactly what she does. And there's the sweet, happy ending. Although, as I said, this game has multiple endings, and you're probably wondering, well, where the fuck's Rebecca? Was she in the mansion? No, because I don't know if you guys remember, at the beginning of this video, I said that none of the endings really make sense. This is the ending that makes the most sense, but what most people say is, and this is what I say as well, is that the true events of Resident Evil 1 is a mix between Jill and Chris's. So, if you wanted to imagine the story the way it probably is, you'd have to imagine it that Rebecca Chambers was also there with them, because if you do it Chris's way, you leave with Rebecca and Jill, but obviously in Jill you leave with Barry and Chris. So the best thing to do is just imagine all four of them got in the helicopter, and then that's how the true ending was. However, we can't say it's a complete happy ending, because we have to remember how many of our fallen comrades died in this mansion. We have to remember what happened to the Trevor family in this mansion, And we have to remember that Umbrella is still out there, strong, doing these horrible things, and they need to be taken down. And that does it for today's video. Next we're going to be covering Resident Evil 2 and 3. However, it's going to be kind of confusing because Resident Evil 3 takes place before Resident Evil 2, during Resident Evil 2, and after Resident Evil 2, so it's going to be really complicated. But we're going to try and do it as best as possible. I still need to finish them. I started Resident Evil 3, but need to finish Resident Evil 2 and start it. But yeah, hope you enjoyed. Thanks a lot for watching. Really appreciate it. See you guys later. Bye bye.